Hello there and welcome back to Inner Sanctum, the place where I show you all of my tricks while I put them off live right in front of you. And yes, this is what you think it is, it's a comp. Because I was trying to make myself a little bit less terrible looking for you.
I don't think you managed.
No, it's impossible. That's already a lost cause. But welcome back to Inner Sanctum. Today we're going to be continuing with this whole thing of us effing around and finding out with Bitwig Studios. The first time we actually started off a whole project here on this channel using Bitwig. And, well, it's a fantastic and totally different take on the concept of, what's the name of this? Digital workstations. So before we get into it, let me introduce the Estonian brave and Edgar and beautiful Terwega Mini, and also that who actually sneaks into my shots.
Yeah, hello girls and boys, how's it going? Very glad to be back. It's great to have you here as well. So yeah, the whole thing with Bitwig has been interesting, and I think today is where we're gonna go a little bit more hands-on, a little bit deeper into it. Right?
We're gonna be finally getting this thing in order. So if that's well, with that being said, let's get into it. Welcome back to Bitwig Studio. In front of us with the project that we are gonna use to develop this idea. I'm gonna give you just a quick summary because last week we had a blackout, and Paul, you can see that. I don't know if the video actually managed to record that moment in which we had the blackout, but nothing major happened here in the studio. But it actually, well, we couldn't continue with the live stream. And that day I showed you some of the ways that you have access to in Bitwig to automate stuff. Not in the sense of automation per se when it comes to mixing, more on the letting Bitwig do some randomization to the development of the track. So let me show you briefly. What we got here is basically speaking just a sample that I created, and it sounds like this. We're having issues with audio. Let me see why. Can you take us to the... We'll be back.
Yes, we can. back.
So here we are. Sorry, there was a little bit of an issue with the audio engine, so I fixed it already. So let's continue. Now, once again, going back to Bitwig Studio, yes, as you can see, there is a new update, but I wouldn't risk updating for that very reason before going live. So now, what I'm going to be doing with this, I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to show you exactly what we did. We created this path based on the sampler, and I actually mapped the randomization for each of the different cells to be played by its own on a random fashion. Let me show you. I'm going to start off. Okay, now it's working correctly. The sample itself has a little bit of this glitchy factor because we are playing with textures, which is kind of what's the name of these guys? A spectral, grain-based delay. If and for those of you who are not familiar with this terminology, this stands for the sample. The sampler is going to be making tiny cuts. It's going to be creating mini sections of the sample, and it's going to repeat them. And you can control how fast, how often those repetitions takes place, and how big those mini samples are by using the grain knob over here. I'm going to make them even shorter and see what happens. Okay. Now, if I recall correctly, last time we actually applied this randomizer using the voices, which is something that I like to use quite a lot on the sampler. See what happens. By working with this guy, we're applying modulation to the positioning of each of the different voices that are triggered every time that the note is triggered. Bitwig is a little bit more technical than the other DOS due to the fact that it's actually expecting you to have some understanding on what modular synthesis is and how it works. So whenever I end up going a little bit more technical or a little bit not clear enough, let me know, please. Because it's impossible to explain some of the stuff that happens here without being a little bit nitty-gritty, if that makes sense to you. Okay? Yeah. So pay attention to this area here. As soon as I press play, sorry, you will see a series of white lines that will show up. Pay attention. Those lines are basically speaking different playheads, and each of them is a little bit starting at a different point due to this offset. This offset is those lines are representing the different voices. Voices is like different points on which the sound is triggered. Make sense to you, Diego?
Yeah.
Okay. So by applying the offset, I am putting all of those different voices to start at a different point, and I'm using this randomizer in here. So every time that the note is being played, it's gonna have different voices starting at different points in the sample. That's why you start to get those kind of amazing textures. Okay, so now let's get more modulation going. Bitwig, there was here a modulation module, damn it, inserted here when we began, and I had to remove it because I thought that the glitch was coming out of it, but it's not. It was a problem with the sound engine. After restarting the whole project, we came back to proper senses. Now, I'm going to be using this guy to insert this kind of modulation. I'm going to be applying the curves because we were working on that one. So here is. What is curves? As you can see here, we got this particular shape, waveform if you wish, that is being applied to where we assign it to. This particular graphic here allows you to apply this modulation to anything that gets this kind of blue hue on top of it. Let's apply it to, for example, pitch. It's going to be awful. Now you see that the pitch knob is starting to follow the pattern of the curve. Mm-hmm. let's see if it makes any form of sense musically speaking. I think it's gonna be horrible because I apply to the pitch, but it's just for you to have an idea. Clearly a mess, right?
Yeah.
But now you start to see that this could be fun and actually very good if we were dealing with something like white noise
Mm-hmm.
and as a texture. I'm gonna just go back to where I was before because that was awful. But let's apply this motion to something different. Let's say, how about the grain size? Let's try it. Let's try it out. Now it's starting to take a somewhere, right?
Yeah, interesting.
Interesting, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna keep it here because the point of this is to create a very lush sounding pad so we can actually use this as a starting point for the track. So let's begin applying effects. There are two ways to do it here in Bitwig. I'm gonna close this guy. Sorry. By doing this, you hide the entirety of the sample, right? But I wanted to hide the modulation. You hide it here.
Mm-hmm.
There are two ways to do it. First, we can click here, and this is gonna create an insert, similar to what you do with a digital live workstation. Let's say that we apply chorus. Okay. Okay. If I press play, the chorus is gonna be in effect. Not a bad choice. But what if I tell you that you can actually apply the effect to the sampler itself rather than in a sequence fashion like you normally do?
Don't
You
get
can
it.
do it.
How do you mean?
Let me explain. Right now, if we go to the mixer, you will see that my channel strip is this area over here. This section is the channel strip, okay? Basically like what you see in Logic or Luna or wherever.
Mm.
Here is the insert section. For Bitwig or in Bitwig, everything, including virtual instruments, is considered to be a device. So plugins and virtual instruments are basically the same for what Bitwig understands as such, okay?
Okay.
You see here that we also have the same sequence. And I can put that chorus on top of the sampler. That makes sense? No. But that would make sense if we were using something like what we're doing with our voices. You can see that my voice is here and his voice is here. I could have this bad boy as the first one and affect the input of my voice and have chorus on my voice. That would be stupid, but you see my point.
Yeah.
Why? You cannot do that on Logic. It's gotta be the virtual instrument and wherever applied to it. But in Bitwig, it's the other way around. You can have it both ways.
I suppose, yeah, I can't really see yet
Why?
the
No,
applications,
wait.
but
I'm just explaining why.
Yeah.
Because in Bitwig, both of them are seen as devices, not plugin. There is no distinction between a plugin or an effect, an audio effect, or an instrument.
Mhm.
It's just what I'm trying to explain to you.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, since they are treated as such, if I go back to the arrangement and I bring back the controller, sorry, here is. You can see that my chorus right now is following right after my sampler. Let's say that I delete it. Bam, it's gone. You can see here that we got this area, effects, and it's inside of the sampler. How do we know? Because it's contained in this particular folder, okay? Everything follows this kind of, what's the name of this? Labs? I don't know what call them.
tabs.
Tabs, yeah, tab. That's the proper word. Labs, that's totally different thing. Sorry, but you got it.
Yeah.
You understood what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So, if I click on effects, you can see that we got now two plus signs. One is white and the other one is blue. The blue one is the one that corresponds to the tab that contains the this guy, the sampler. I'm gonna apply chorus again. Nothing changed. And if I press play, it's gonna be the same. Nothing changed. But what changes this?
Okay.
And if I click here and I apply chorus again, Don't you see the difference now?
So now that's after the
One is inside of the sorry about that. One is inside of the instrument itself, and the other one is following the instrument after the instrument.
okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to put as much emphasis as possible in this section because this is a little bit of a point of confusion for many people,
Yeah.
especially those starting off. Because when I got into Bitwig, I was like, "What's the point?" Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking in terms of mixing and working with a board, okay, and working with this analog stuff, right?
Yeah.
Everything follows a sequence.
Mhm.
But then this is what changed my mind and actually allowed me to appreciate what this is about. With this, you can create an instrument with its effects inserted and loaded as an instrument. Make sense?
Kinda.
Did it or not?
No, no. I can see the what. I can see the application. I'm not understanding exactly where you
Okay.
would go from that.
Let's play around with this. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna delete the second chorus. Let's apply. I'm gonna go for a third party because this also works with third party plugins. I'm gonna go for even title, of course, micropitch. But we're gonna go for a creator, and it's not there. Why? Let's see. Micropitch, there is. Wherever. So let's do it. Micropitch. There is. Bam. Bada bing, bada bam. There it is. So let's create a badass sound with the micropitch. Micropitch is many things, and it's an algorithm from the H3000, and then they created this plugin, which is the version that they created for the H9, and then they released the H3000 as a plugin, which allows you to do many things. But I don't want to go that deep. I want to use micropitch. Okay, and in a nutshell, it's basically a delay that allows you to detune the sound of each of the notes or each of the repetitions, one going upwards and one going downwards. Both of those are repetitions, of course. And each time they repeat themselves through time, they will detune little by little. But they do it in a sense fashion, super mini micro pitch shifting. Hands on it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Totally. Okay, so let's begin. It made the sound a little bit wider because that's the point of micropitch. But you saw me doing this. Because I'm testing something that you cannot do, and you can. You cannot do outside of Bitwig, but you can in Bitwig. I'm going to be modulating this bad boy through the use of an LFO. Theo already knows what's going to happen because he has an idea of what's going to happen. But for those of you who don't know, I'm going to bring back you will have to remove me. Put me on the other side, if possible.
Yes.
Look. After I clicked on the same old, we got once again I'm gonna hide the. Oh, this is what happens. I forgot that I'm using this guy. I inserted in the as part of the instrument itself. I'm gonna be applying a modulation. I'm gonna insert a classic LFO just to keep it simple. And then by clicking here, I'm gonna assign that LFO to this guy, which is pitch A. So here we go. Now it's starting to do it. And I'm going to apply it as well to pitch B, but to the other side.
Honestly,
That's already enough for you to buy it, right?
no, the fact that it can be used in third-party plugins is kind of nuts.
It's nuts, man.
And it
because
opens up.
unlimited power,
Yeah,
would you say?
basically.
It's fantastic. So let's
Yeah.
see how it sounds. I think I went overboard, but let's see. Not bad, man.
Yeah.
Not bad. It's kind of cool, but I think it's a little bit too much. So let's lower the amount. You put me on the side, please, Theo.
Yes.
As with anything in life, there is too much of a good thing. Right now, I think the the amount of motion or modulation applied is way too much. So the way to control it is simply by opening up the controls to set the the LFO, and you can see here that we got the amount, phase, bipolar, which is badass, is what allow it to go upwards and downwards. If I turn it on, look, now it's just upwards, downwards, because it's using the center point, the positive and the negative. When you are when you have control over your impulses, it's it's gonna be only positive. If you go bipolar, it's gonna go from all the way to the top, from all the way to the bottom, and so on and so forth. So right now, as I said before, we got a lot of modulation applied to those parameters on our plugin, right? I'm gonna lock it down to a much more manageable. That's more sensical in my ear, into my ear, in my head, and maybe it's a little bit too fast because this is exactly because I want this to be more like get me.
Okay, makes sense. Yes.
And I'm gonna apply the same modulation, but on the feedback because I want that kind of thing to go forward. Let's do it. I'm gonna apply it by clicking here, and now let's apply it to the feedback. And I'm gonna go all the way to the top. How much can we push it? Let's see. Perfect. Let's play around. Let's test it. Starting to work.
Yeah, it adds a cool motion to the sound.
Exactly. And as you can see here, you can even change the different LFOs to different waveforms. For example, something a little bit more on the triangle wave, a square, which would be kind of an on and off. And you can see here, look how much it changes. It goes from one to the other in an abrupt fashion. This is a very archaic way to create arpeggios, by the way.
Mm.
Then a ramp up, that could be interesting. It's gonna reset. Let's see. That kind of works, don't you think?
Yeah, I think this one was the one I like the best.
Me
out
too.
Of the bunch.
Me too, because it got that since it's synced to the tempo. Every time a new cell is triggered, they reset it themselves. So that's good. Okay, so enough micro pitch for now. We're gonna hide this guy, and also we're gonna hide the modulation. Let's insert yet another plugin. Again, we're gonna still be doing it inside of the container. That it's the effect itself, the instrument itself. Clicking on it. Now let's go for a flanger and stick it to my biases. Let's go for once again Insta flanger. Here it is. Once again by Eventide. Thank you very much. That guy. Perfect. We don't need micro pitch right now. I'm gonna say modulation on top of modulation. Yes. Yes, of course.
Why wouldn't?
Why wouldn't you? Let's F around. This is a very faithful replica to the actual instant flanger by Eventide. And there are many things that I want to explain to you about this kind of stuff. Because the first one is this. You have control over this guy. Where is it? Because it says manual. This is the manual function. It's manual not because it's because it's expecting you to use your hand. And if you are someone that I know, you won't be able to use it manually. But wherever. That's an inside joke, okay? But it does this, look. Now you see why I picked this guy, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to automate this. But instead of using an LFO, I want to do it with, I'm going to hide the micro pitch. Sorry. Flanger. Let's cancel this one. Yes. I'm going to double click here. Sorry. Make it visible. And I'm going to use, once again, maybe curves or ADSR. Yeah, I'm going to use an envelope. Okay?
Mm.
Why? Because that way it could be like a motion rather than a sequence.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's apply to the manual, which is manual. There it is. Let's find first the sweet spot, the one that we kind of find it sounding cool. And then we're going to use that as a reference point. Here we go. That's cool. I think I'm gonna use the 23% as my starting point. So let's apply it. Manual, and I like it all the way down to here. Let's see. Put me on your side, please. Because right now I will be using the IDSR. Double clicking, it should give me the zoom, but where? You see that as soon as I press play, the motion is triggered. I like it, but it's a little bit too fast, so I'm gonna increase the attack. That's badass, right?
That's pretty cool.
Super awesome. And the fact that I'm doing it without having to think of look, everything is being automated right now. The modulation, the effects are controlled by the modulation, the modulators inside of Bitwig. The chord progression is being triggered by Bitwig alone. I haven't switched any of the I don't have an actual timeline. It's simply switching from one to the other cell. So cool. How to do it easy? We got here this next action section here. And as you can see, random in block. Block, as I explained last week, it's everything that is connected by being, just by the fact that they are beside each other. If I create a new cell here, this will be considered a new block. And
Okay.
this is part of a block. This is not a block. This is a block. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, you can start to see that you can have several blocks playing at the same time. Or you can have one of these blocks that sends the whole progression to the next one. So whenever it randomly takes the whole operation or the whole performance into one of those blocks, of this particular block that sends you to the next one, these cells that sends you to the next block, it will do it. So you have control over the random factor as well.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
No, that's pretty cool.
it's super good, man.
Look, I have a question to
Go.
make,
Go ahead.
and it is more on the mindset workflow kind of character.
Yes.
Because the possibilities that are created here with Bitwig and the ability to modulate everything gives for every new step that you take, let's say you're talking about music production, what you're doing right now, every new development creates new cans of worms that you can be effing around with in many different ways.
To an infinite, man.
Yeah, so do you think, or how would you tackle the issue about having too many options?
Good
Because
question.
on a production scenario, having too many options at times might
It's
not.
not a good thing.
Yeah,
It's not a good thing. Excellent question. Look, the way I would do it is, or I usually do it, is by first setting in my head what I want to make out of this track. Last week, I stated, and I will stick to my guns, I want to create something a little bit more on the ambience, atmospheric music. I always forget what's the proper appropriate description, the genre.
Oh.
Ambient music. I want to make it in an ambient fashion. And one of the particularities of that style of music is that it's kind of randomly generated, not randomly in the sense of it not being being created by a computer. No, it's the artist, the musician, is actually playing and creating music out of the randomness of the sequences being played. Got me?
Yeah.
That's why we are right now creating the foundation. I'm not gonna be adding more instruments because I want to make sure that my foundation, the starting point, what it's gonna be deciding the rest of the track is properly established, which is this path. I want to use this chord progression to add all sorts of shenanigans, such as arpeggiators. My plan is to later integrate these guys into Bitwig for this particular project. We're going to be using analog stuff in conjunction with the digital stuff, because you can actually apply those modulators that I'm applying to the software instruments and the software plugins to everything that has a CV control. And I have two pieces here that I have CV controllers through the use of Bitwig. So now you're playing with power.
Yeah.
Okay? But first, let's establish this. And coming back to that question, since you have infinite options, in particular in Bitwig, because Bitwig allows you to do all sorts of shenanigans, not just what your plugins are capable of, but also what the software Bitwig alone has to offer when it comes to modulation. because that's where the question coming from, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You were like, damn, I have never thought of using these plugins in this way
Yeah.
because they don't have this built-in modulation. The thing is this: when I am working on music, I want to make sure that I have a properly established idea and I stick to it till the end, because otherwise you're gonna end up in choices paralysis.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Look into it.
Thank you.
At this stage, am I happy? No. But am I starting to get somewhere? Yes, I am. The path, one of the things that makes a path interesting is delay and reverb, because we're going to be applying both. Let's do it. First, apply some reverb. In this case, what can we use for reverb? Let's see, because it would be nice to use something that is not black hole for a change.
Or round.
Or round. Yeah,
The usual suspects.
let's go for something funky.
That one with the colors and it's not a ripple. No, that's a delay.
That's the right.
No, there's one with the colors that kind of has an interface that looks like ripples.
Love.
I love. I think it is.
Yeah, good idea.
That one is very cool.
That one is very cool, but it's kind of unruly. Okay, but it's exactly what we want,
Yeah.
because love, it's a multi-effects unit, which has here a similar approach to the granular delay stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have filters here that could be modulated using LFOs. You got controls over here for the offset of the starting point of the sample, because it's gonna see the whatever comes in as a sample, right? And we got this random, and let me see if random is seen as as a parameter here.
That can go.
You see where I'm
quite
going, right?
Crazy.
You see where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
Let's find it, because this gonna if it's in by
You're gonna automate the randomness.
even if I can find the freaking random button here, yeah, man, it's gonna be ridiculous. What's the name? The thing is that, look, you can even look up for that sound anti. What could be the name? Dice? No, it only shows me anti, but it's because it's the first one. Let me see if it has a name here. Click the randomize. It's just doing everything here. It's showing me the parameters that are changing here.
Mm-hmm.
Where? But it could be, I could assign it to the controller using MIDI. And that's where the performance aspect of ambient music kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to click a few times the random. Let's see what we get. Kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep playing with it. I'm gonna turn off I'm gonna turn off everything, and we're gonna be adding it little by little because it's too much. Okay, here we go. Let's play first with the delay. So good, right?
That's
So
pretty cool, yeah.
freaking good. We're starting to get somewhere. Okay. What I did first, remember that this is kind of seeing the signal coming in as a sampler, okay? All of these bubbles popping in and out are basically the samples, the mini samples that I explained to you, the grains. And it's being sampled right now. So I set the offset again, starting a little bit off. So you get a little bit of a quasi effect going on. Then transpose, very important. I transpose it 12 notches, well, points upwards, because that means that it's the octave, okay? And I set the octave to tune it all the way down to using my ear, okay? No measurement here. At the beginning, it was with a little bit of the tune not pushed forward, so it was off tune, out of tune the entirety of the time. So I put it centered. No, don't have wrong with it. I didn't bother with this guy, and the reverse. Let's see. That's beautiful. Stop. That's badass, right?
That's pretty cool, actually.
Freaking awesome. Okay. Let's add some of the effery.
Just one thing, now that you're getting a little bit more excited,
Yeah. I
think,
shouldn't shout. Okay.
yeah, so I
sorry.
think maybe lower our output a little bit. We're getting some reds.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't think it's clipping, but because I have a compressor, but just in case.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay. Let's apply some clouds, which is kind of a badass sounding reverb. Let's see. I love what the shimmer is doing. But you know what would be freaking awesome? Automating the amount of shimmer.
Yeah, it was a slow LFO kind of just
Yes,
yeah, that'd be cool.
exactly, man. So let's do it. Man, I told you that Bitwig is badass. Let's do it. Let's apply beat LFO. Let's see, because it's a different take on it. It's a little bit more on the staccato-like sound, so it could give us take us somewhere. Let's pick this particular shape, and let's make sure that we're shimmer. This is the guy. So we're gonna have it here, a little bit lower. Then let's automate this bad boy, shimmer. Too fast?
Kinda fast, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna fix it. Sorry. Let's go. No, that's ridiculous. There it is. Sorry. That looks like it, right?
Yeah, that looks interesting. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see.
hear.
So good, man.
An interesting thing is that even though we're still talking about the single instrument, it's just one sound, but it feels super layered and super.
Yeah.
It has quite a lot of motion to it.
It has a lot of motion.
Yeah.
How about if we insert a filter before love that is doing.
Nothing should come before love.
No, nothing comes before love. Well, I could do everything for it.
But I
And we're
won't.
gonna go for Moog.
Bringing out the big guns.
Big guns. There is.
Best
You-
name ever.
No, this is just a Moog for well, yeah, but this is not the cluster flux. Shit, I just want to get that one. Okay, let's play around with it. This is basically the eighth pole, if I recall correctly. Yes, a ladder filter that it's made famous by Moog. Okay, and it sounds very similar. It's a very good recreation. Let's see.
You saw it already. Yeah.
Wasn't that beautiful? Damn!
And of course, no opportunity to automate is gonna be lost.
Of course not, because I just let's do it. Again, here's the question: what kind of automation can we get? There are many ways. We can use the voice stacking, which is following the voices here. But I don't know if it's gonna be a good one. It could be quite messy. Let's try something. I'm trying to come up with something because look at this one. I wonder if it's mean hardware CV in.
For real?
It is, man. It is.
So you could use
Yeah, I
the
can use the actual mode to turn the mode.
Nah, that'll be badass.
Yeah, that not today because I have to. There's many things I have to do in routing first. Let's do something. What could be good? Because you can actually assign buttons, and then use the buttons to trigger them to do the changes, right? That's more of a hands-on sequence. Let's say. I haven't used this one before, so let's learn how to use it. We're gonna go here to show help because I need all of the help in the world. And as you can see, this is interactive. It's actually showing me exactly the parameters that I got on the plugin. This is actually a plugin just with the text on top. So let's say MiniSplay shows all of the 8 steps. So let me see. If I turn them off. Oh, modular out. Okay, for wireless control of the parameters wherever the step is reached. Okay, now I get it. So let's see. If I click in here, push this guy like there, then I click here and it pushes like this. Allegedly, when it's it's gonna oof, man. Here we go. The potential is excellent, but it's not here. It's not for this. It's for resonance. Let me fix it. No, I don't want it this. I don't want it here. I don't want it here. I don't want it. Which one else? This one. You'll see. You'll see. Look, I'm gonna play cut off first, and again I'm gonna try to make it randomly. Oh shit! Again, sorry, I did the wrong one. It's filter resonance. Okay, resonance. You'll see. You'll see. Give me a break. It self resonates, by the way. Okay, let's play by ear. Now I'm gonna play a traditional LFO
To the cutoff now.
to the cutoff. But in this
Kinda
case,
fast.
it's very fast. It's very fast. Give me a break.
No.
You're already getting excited. Somebody's starting to get.
Yeah. This actually it is quite exciting.
It is right.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun. Let's see. It should work. Excellent.
Isn't she lovely?
Isn't she lovely?
No, this is becoming a great freaking sound actually.
Starting to get somewhere right.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I would add yet more reverb to it. Let's do it. And now you see why I put so much emphasis on the whole thing with regarding the filter, right?
Yeah.
because by using the sequencer, now I'm telling the filter to move based. Let me show you the filter again. The resonance point, since I know that this guy actually has a huge, it actually self-oscillate. It's giving us this extra harmonic point every so often throughout the performance, because the pattern itself is following its own terms. The transport. Oh, look, with group. Let's see. Link the global transport to place top status tempo position. No, I want it to be run free running. Exactly. This is gonna make it even more uh, everywhere, because the idea is to make it intense and weird, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's see. I got an idea. Let's keep Mogerfugger in this bad boy. I'm gonna start another Mogerfugger. But this is, if I recall correctly, Murph or Freck Boys. Freck Box. Let's see. Is this guy? And I'm gonna keep both on screen, because instead of, this is basically a sequencer. Look what is gonna happen. Active. I'm gonna turn off love for you to see exactly what is going on. Now you see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
It's chopping up the sample, or where the signal coming in, based on the parameters here. Right now I have this guy set to stun the mix. So I'm gonna bring back lob, so we can have the atmosphere going. Okay, it's still going. And I'm gonna back off this guy. Damn, right?
Yeah. Badass.
Damn.
Badass.
But there's more. One of the things that I love about these guys is that they have its own way to modulate each other. As you can see here, when you click on CB, this section over here, it now displays to you the back of the pedal. These guys used to be guitar pedals that I always wanted to get. It was a huge collection. There were like 8 of these bad boys. And they are basically speaking the modular sections. Well, they are the sections, or the effect sections of a modular system turned into a guitar pedal. You have seen it on boards by, for example, more of those out there guitar players such as John Frusciante. And he has, I don't know exactly which modulator he has on his board, but man, those guys were awesome. I always wanted to get one when I started off, because they got released in 2008, I think, and the run lasted all the way until 2013. It was a short lifespan for these bad boys. I never could get my hands on one of those guys, and I regret it every freaking day of my life. There's that good. And this is one of the reasons why. You see that this is the back end. You can see that great. LFO sweep, envelope, LFO amount, mix. Wait a second, what is this? I can, bipolar, well, we know what bipolar is. In and out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Positive and negative. But MF101S, which one is that? Could it be this? I
As the
don't
other
know.
guy.
Yes, it is the other guy. The plugins detect when there are more of the Mooger Foogers inserted or part of the session. This means that, let's say that I want to apply the LFO sweep. I want it to be controlled by the envelope of the MF1OS, and I'm gonna push it in. Now it's there. So whenever the envelope starts to move, this is gonna start to affect. Look. These guys are modulating each other right now. The envelope, the amount of the envelope here is affecting the sweep of the LFO on the guy.
So many freaking layers.
And yeah, and now you see why I picked these guys, man, because the
Yeah.
idea is to let the song do its own thing. Uh, and then I'm gonna be working with more stuff. I'm gonna be adding elements. One of the things that I have to mention is that the this guy, the morph, can be synced to the tempo of the track, and that also means that it will begin the sequence as soon as the song, I press play. But where's the fun? I want this to be a mess. Let's have a final spin because we're basically reaching the end of this live stream, and we will cover the whole thing. I'm gonna try to do something musical now that we got something kind of going on. So let's do something like this because this is gonna be probably the setting up for the next episode. We're gonna insert a polygrid and just this is polygrid, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's this? LFO, oscillators. What happens if I? What happens if I? Wait a second. This kind of looks like an environment for a synthesizer, right?
Yeah.
This polygrid is actually a modular synthesizer that you can use to create wherever you want, including sequencers. The modulators that you already saw working outside are here as well. And this goes bananas. Bananas. I want to dedicate at least an episode, a full episode on this guy alone later, okay? Because this is incredibly deep. But let's go back. Right now, we're not going to be dealing with that. Let's get out of this guy. Thank you. I'm going to insert an arpeggiator so we can have some form of arpeggiation here. Okay, there is arpeggiator. Sequence, or where? I got lost. Where is the arpeggiator? Oh, sorry. It's an actual. It's one of these guys. It's a device. Here is arpeggiator, and let's put it at the beginning. Yeah, give it that. Thank you. Put it on top. Now it's gonna be triggering this guy. So if I bring the won't work. But let's add a random note. And this guy, instead of copying the random, is gonna be sequencing itself into eternity. Let's see. Sorry, that was terrible.
Beautiful.
That was terrible. Let's try with the LFO. Let's do it with care. And actually, thank God you're not listening to it because I didn't. I haven't put the output.
Okay, yes.
That's good. That's good because this is awful.
Yeah, so you guys on the other side got...
That's spurt. That's spurt.
Yeah.
So let's do it. I'm gonna be applying some. I'm gonna be inserting it, and let's just for the sake of conversation, let's add some not awful sounds. I'm gonna black hole, sun. just because it's gonna make it a little bit less terrible. So here we go. Okay, we got a very good starting point. Of course, this was just an attempt to make it a little bit less boring. But now you see the objective, right?
Yeah.
At this stage, what I wanted to create, or at least my goals for this session was to create a very good starting point, a good atmospheric sounding path that will allow for the creation of an entire track. Next step will be creating an arpeggiator melodic line that will make sense in the context of this sequence. The plan is for it to be completely random. We're gonna be having different points we're gonna have different fluctuations when it comes to timing. The structure itself is gonna be controlled by the machine itself because the my objective is for me as a performer to play with the sounds rather than playing to the music.
Okay.
If that makes sense, I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, it does. It's more like a sound designing approach to the music making than rather than the compositional
Exactly,
kind of thing. Yeah.
exactly. And this is something important because uh, when it comes to my workflow, depending on what kind of music I have to create, I have different tools for each job. For example, whenever I have to work on something a little bit more electronic music driven, I go straight to this, my machine. When I have to go for classical oriented music or rock, I go straight to Logic. Whenever I have to do something crazy like this guy, because Bitwig offers so many opportunities for sound design that are so unique to it and actually forces you to think and create music in a completely different way. It's totally different approach. And it actually changes the paradigms in your head. And that's the source of inspiration. So I totally recommend you, if you haven't tried Bitwig before, please do yourself a favor and give it a try. It's not for everyone, I gotta tell you that. Because there are many things that I kind of find super quirky that I don't necessarily happen to agree with the design philosophies, but it's because of the mentality behind it. This is Bitwig is closer to an instrument than it is to a DAW in my head. And if you look at it from that perspective, everything that they did with the design makes perfect sense. So I don't know what you think about that, Tego, because now it's the second time you see
Yeah.
Bitwig in action.
Yeah, and it does look like this outlook of Bitwig and seeing it more as an instrument rather than a doll. It seems to make sense already. I think that's a good way to look at it because when it comes to the soundscape and sound design possibility that it offers, is like diving in a very deep, very complex instrument that you can do whatever.
Wherever.
And yeah, but I suppose that if you're not gonna go for that particular route in music making, it might be a little bit too much. But I think for this environment, for this particular application, it seems perfect for it because nothing else does it.
No.
Yeah.
It's very hard for it to. It's gonna be very hard for you to find something similar. Ableton Live is very similar. It has its own approach to things, and it's great. I simply prefer this environment over Ableton, but maybe because I'm an edgelord. Because Ableton is fantastic. Yeah, and if you look at it as an instrument rather than as a software or as a platform to write music, damn it, it's a different beast. Because I see myself writing rock and producing rock music in this guy as well, because of the soundscapey possibilities, but more on the atmospheric, something like Radiohead or Porcupine Tree, if you wish, on the more atmospheric experimental tone,
Yeah.
rather than a full-on Metallica-like sound. Okay, so there you got it. A little bit slow, I know, but it's because we're starting, and actually, well, we need to lay down the foundation. Next week is going to be way more exciting because I also wanted to clarify some of the stuff that, due to the shenanigans that took place last week, I needed to address. So, with that being said, thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. If you got any questions, please let me know in the comment section down below because I will be more than glad to help you, and I will be more than glad to address those inquiries. So please do it. And also, if you like this kind of content, the best way to do it is by subscribing to this channel, leaving a like, commenting, and also ringing the freaking bell. And I know that I'm asking way too much from you, but that's the rule of the game. And if it was about me, for as long as you have something good out of this, that's enough. But we need to keep the lights on here, so the best way to do it is by supporting the channel. So you can do that, and also you can support the channel by listening to music on Apple Music or Spotify, and of course by following us on social media such as Instagram and X, and also by joining our Discord server that will be linked on the description to this video once this thing's over, because we have to make that part of our usuals.
Yes.
Okay, so with that being said, the only thing left to be reminded is that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about, and remember that I was here when it's here.